Welcome to Carolina Sculpture Studio. My name is Clint Button and I'm a granite sculptor. And welcome to video number 196 of the Virtual Stone Carving Apprenticeship. As I'm developing her face, I'm trying to keep track of this model, okay? Just as a visual reference, I really like having them side by side. It just helps me a lot. You don't have to, but I think it's worth doing it. I'm also keeping track of my standoff, because I can put this on here and then run a straight edge top to bottom, and it can give me perspective of how deep her head is, because this is roughly 2 inches, and that means I'm going to roughly be back 3 inches on the job, because this is a 2/3 scale, okay? And if we go up here and check, remember I stayed about 1 inch up, and I'm 1.5 inches back, okay, and this is 1 inch high. So that means that if I go to this model, this head's actually a little bit further ahead than the way this looks. So I think I'm in really good shape. I tried to make it accurate, I tried to do it right. You do your best, but whenever you're marrying two different models, when you're indexing a portrait onto a full length like this, like what I'm doing, there's a lot of it's kind of a judgment call. You got to figure out, you got to do a lot of measuring to make sure. It's amazing how easy it is to miss a little detail, to have some small error that you miss build into it. And like I said, it's a whole lot easier to carve more away than it is take more off. And you can try to do a portrait face in like 2/3 scale and then enlarge it with compasses. You're probably not going to be as accurate as you will be with the full-size model. When you start getting into big stuff, like the Piccarelli brothers, I think that's how they say it, did, the Lincoln Memorial, they carved it and whatever. And they had, they did a lot of that with compasses. There's pictures of them working with compasses with pointing machines and everything. But they didn't do a life-size job of the whole thing. I'm pretty sure they had a head of Lincoln that was like, I think they pointed that. I'll have to look at my old pictures, but I think they actually indexed that head onto that job. But to enlarge a face really accurately with compasses is I'm not saying you can't do it, but it's challenging. You got to be really careful. But this, we're on track to be, like I said, if I'm 1 inch high here and I'm 2.5 inches deep here, and it was just barely under 2 inches on her head, so it would be just under 3 inches, and we're going to be at 2.5 inches deep here. That's pretty close. So I'm going to keep working. I want to work the sides of her face some, try to put together like, rough points above her cheekbones right now, right here. And I'm going to do those next on these corners to see where I'm at and try to make sure this is really good. And may open up a little bit more under her neck. Like I said, one of the challenges or issues we got to remember with this stone is the grain orientation. Andy always told me, he says, when you cut a full round statue, you do a big job that's on die stock, like this, where you got head grain. He says it takes a lot longer to cut it than it does to do one with the grain going up and down, because everything peels off really fast. And it holds different. I don't know, there'll be one way that how you run in your rift, which way will break flat and which one will dig. And so you still have some of the same issues as working on the head grain. It's just placed in a different way. Before somebody asks, yes, I could take my diamond saw and saw off like this and saw right back to that face. It's just me being cautious. I'd rather go in and work it off and measure it, and go in and work it off and measure it, because to saw perfect, lay it in there and cut just right back to it. If you get skewed or tip your cut at all of a sudden things go bad really fast. And I would rather take that last 1/4 inch, half to 1/4 inch off with a 9-point, with a chisel, with a tool where I've really got control and I really know what I'm doing, than to think I can saw it accurate to it. And we say that the saw skin where you saw it is tough. You have to break through it in order to axe it, to cut it. And it's easy for your chisel, if it's not super duper sharp, your chisel can kind of skitter and drag your 9-point. It takes a while to break it up enough to get through that skin. The skin seems harder. Maybe it's just our imagination, I don't know. But when you're doing it back with a 9-point and a chisel on broken stone, it's softer, it works faster. I mean, even on granite, it feels a lot different. So, but I'm gonna crank everything up and make it great. Keep cutting stone. But right now, we're looking good. The other thing I wanted to mention that I thought about that I hadn't pointed out, it's very easy. I'm not going on my depths, okay, by just glancing at this, because this is at an angle. This is tipped, okay? And yes, we could stand it up straight and, she would be more analogous to this. I'm not that concerned about it. I think I've got it under control. I've done this before, and I'd rather have her lean back to where she's not going to tip and fall off easily. It's going to take more energy to tip her over. When she's standing straight up, you've got to have her secured really well so she won't just go and fall over and smash. I don't want that. So, but that's why I use the standoff, so you can keep track of where things are. But her head's back far enough into the stone that it's matching this, and we're great. So, time to cut stone. As I'm putting the video together and editing it, the last clip I'm diamond sawing away. I wanted to revisit something that I told you, and this is a cautionary tale or advice or whatever, because I know that there's some of y'all that are buying equipment and that are doing this, and one of the reasons I'm doing this for free, okay, one of the reasons I'm not charging for subscriptions, and if you pay a certain thing, you get a little star by your name and you've got special access to me. No, anyone wants to talk to me, call me up. Get on the phone, give me a call, and I'll talk to you. I don't have 80,000 people that are watching these videos and following me, so I've got time to talk to people. If you want to know how to do this, that's where we're at. But I was watching YouTube the other night, watching the videos, and what do they call it, doom scrolling. You get on there little short videos, just watch them after, and every once in a while something really cool comes up. Well, some dude's on there with diamond blades, they've got the best diamond blades in the world, and I forget, it's some two-name company, whatever. And I don't really remember what their name is. And they may not be the only one, I don't know. But he's doing one of the trade show, county fair kind of demonstrations, and, it'll cut this, and it'll cut that, and it'll cut anything you've got, and it'll cut what you cut with. And he's cutting metal and plastic, and he's cutting the saw blades that you cut with, and he's cutting the carbide on the saw. He's cutting everything. And he says, and he'll even cut granite. All right, well, my ding, 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 I went off because the good disco blades, and this one got wet, okay? It's brand new, but it got wet after I had it, so it's got a little bit of surface rust on it. These disco blades just went out of production recently, and so there are no more. They do not exist. And so I bought everything I could find for these 4-inch, because that's what I use. I use them like crazy. And so I've got a supply now that'll last me until I run out. And I think I mentioned that a while back, a few videos back. But, so dude says, these will cut anything. And they got a lifetime guarantee. If there's ever a problem, you just return it, we'll give you a new blade. All right, and I'm thinking, yeah, hey, cool. So he does a close-up of the blade, and this is a different brand, but it's the same kind of thing. That's got the electroplated diamonds that are on the outside of the metal. Womp, 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 the thing. And I'm like, yeah, whatever. I don't believe it. Because what happens is when this blade hit granite, I don't know if the camera will show it, but there are no diamonds left on this outer circumference. It won't even scratch my thumbnail. There's nothing. I can go over here and I can file my nails, whatever, on the diamonds out here, and they're great. There is not a single diamond left on this circumference because it hit hard stone. And that's what happens with electroplated blades. If it looks like those diamonds are stuck on there with glue or it was dipped in diamonds, it will not last on granite, okay? It will not last on granite. For granite, the diamonds are embedded or sintered in a bond, and you have to have stone that's hard enough to grind away this bond, this sintered metal, this metal that was powder, that you heat it up in a kiln, whatever, in a furnace, and it melts together, kind of like carbide. And that bond erodes and it exposes fresh diamonds, because the diamonds are completely surrounded by that bond. And as that bond wears away, the diamonds are exposed and they can cut. Okay, that's what hard stone does to that. The problem with this is that as soon as these diamonds hit the hard stone, they get 100% of the impact, stress, whatever, and they thermal and they fracture and they fall apart and they come off the blade. Okay, so I watched the video long enough and tapped on the screen trying to stop it so I could take a screenshot so I could get the company name so I could call them up or whatever and find out what they are. So I look them up and they're like $170 a blade. Okay, these were like 60, and these were the best you can get, period, no matter what. They're fantastic. I've used them for 25 years. I wish they still offered them. Like I said, this one's rusty because I got wet after I bought it. But had something spill on it. And so I cleaned it off and I just threw it in the toolbox because the bag where the box was wrecked. But these are the best. I trust these completely. I'll cut every stone I ever cut for the rest of my life with these blades if I can get them. Now I can't. Okay, we used to be able to get these Osaka diamonds blades like this. I think this is a fake one that I bought, and it's all floppy. They're junk, So I don't think I used it very much. That's why it's still there. These were the 4-inch blades we always used, and we always used the 7-inch disco blades. We used the Osaka diamond little ones, and we used the 7-inch discos. These went out of production. It's been at least 5 years, probably been 10 years. It's been a while. And it's really sad. And these went out of production because they can't get quality materials anymore, just based on supply chains or whatever. And so instead of lowering their quality, they just quit making them. It stinks. So anyways, these new whoop-de-ding, whatever blades they are by this magic company that's on YouTube that says they'll cut anything you got out there, and they'll cut granite, they'll cut marble, granite, tile, anything you want. They're in their lifetime guarantee. So I go on their website and look it up. They're $170 for a blade. Almost 3 times what the best thing on the market is. I think these were 60. Maybe they were 40, but I think they were 60. I bought a bunch of them. But $170 for a blade, like the guy was using, he had a 4 or 5 inch blade. He didn't have a big blade, and that's what he was using. And the price on the website was $170. And I'm like, man alive. So I sent him an email and said, basically I'm a professional. I do this for a living. I use diamond blades all the time, and I need a new source because mine have all gone out of production that I've used for decades. Can you provide me any verification, validation, any proof as to why your blades work on granite when every single other blade in this electroplated configuration, that's what they're advertised, they're electroplated diamond blades, why they work on granite and the others don't. Because if they do, I'm all for it. If yours are going to survive when the other ones don't, I need a new supply. And, you know, it's been several days. It's been a week. It's been a while. A few days at least. Crickets. I think it was Sunday when I sent it. It's Friday. Okay. So, before you buy something, and I understand if it's you know, well, there's warranty and all that other stuff, that's great. But if you go buy a blade and it's junk, and you got to mail it off and get another and go and it's junk, unless you've got 20 of these blades to cycle through, so that every time one of them wrecks while you're waiting 2 or 3 days for the new blade to come, or whether you have to mail the one you've got back to them and then they'll ship you a new one for free, and you got to add on another, you know, $10 to ship it to them every time. If you do that, that's $180 for a blade, and then $10 every, you know, for the first replacement, and then $10 replacement all the time. And if they don't last any time, it's a waste of money. Okay, trust. I'm telling you what to do. Okay, if you're going to carve granite, get blades that have segments like this that are sintered with the diamonds in them. Okay, and this bond has to be eroded to expose the diamonds. Don't buy electroplated blades. Now, if you're going to use these for marble, these are the blades to go. And, you know, if you're doing soft stone, that may be a great company to work with. I don't know what their warranty structure is. And, you know, you'd probably want to buy 2 or 3 blades in order to have one while you're waiting on the replacement blade to come. But I don't know. Looked like a big company, like they, you know, they're not going to just disappear overnight. They had a lot of other products. But when they start preaching that their electroplated blades will cut granite, don't bite the hook, okay? Unless they've got some magic process and they've beaten physics, those blades won't last on granite for what you're doing. So spend your money careful, listen to what I told you, and do it the right way. And even if they say, oh, if you got to use water with them, they'll still wipe the diamonds out, okay? The diamonds will not last because they're only bonded on the bottom. And as soon as they fracture on the hard granite, they're going to crumble and they're going to fall off. There's not going to be any diamonds there, okay? So buy bonded blades. Don't buy electroplated blades, all right? And enough for preaching. Go back to work now. But just be careful. And if you have a question, you're more than welcome to put them in the comments or give me a call. You know, just click for my contact info. It's all there. It's easy to find. I'm real easy to get a hold of. All right. Back to the studio. All right, I'm back. Weather's a little bit cooler now, so I get to put on my other hat, even a long sleeve shirt, which is nice because you don't end up so completely plastered. But we're getting into cooler weather and it's really nice. I'll remind you all again, if you're serious about this series, this apprenticeship series, I would suggest that you read the comments, okay? And don't just read the comments, but read my replies, because a lot of people ask questions and some of the answers are very general, just because the question is, some of them are very specific. Some of them are more relevant than others, as to what I'm doing and why I'm doing it. And I don't always, I try to cover the information on the videos, but I don't always get all of it on the video that I'd like. And then, you know, if somebody asks me a question about video that's 100 before this video, whatever the number is, I may not be in a spot to say I'm just going to throw that into the next video and cover it, because it's so far off the topic that we're not doing, you know, the abundant cross, and we're not doing finishing work where we're doing paneling and marble and stuff like that. So it's kind of hard to bring that in when I'm indexing a bus model onto a enlarged full length model. full-length job. So, but we had a question on the last video and comment, and I wanted to include that, the content of that answer here as I'm moving forward, because this is a very, very, very important point to understand. I was asked about the hair, about what I'm leaving for material for the hair. And I said I was always trained that the hair is subsequent to the rest of the job, because you carve the head, you carve the shoulders, you carve the chest, you know, the body, everything. And then the hair goes where the hair goes. It needs to fit. If you know, there's occasion when you see some jobs that are carved, they got really big wonky like helmet hair. And a lot of times that helmet hair is there because that job was supposed to be 4 feet tall or 6 feet tall or whatever. And they left that very pinnacle of stone right there. And then they tried to somehow make that head that kept shrinking and shrinking work with that hair, because they needed that height and they didn't want to be, you know, a 1/4 inch or a 1/2 inch or an inch or two under the required height of the job. And the hair was how they did that. So the hair should always be subsequent. With that said, I continued in that answer, and this is on video 195. The answer's in there, and you can see it. It'd probably be more succinct than what I'm going to say here. But I reached a point with this stone, and where I've shot. This is 1 inch tall on her forehead. You know, it's out 1 inch. These points on her, this is 3/4 of an inch. This is at least 3/4 of an inch. These are at least 3/4 of an inch here and here, and these are above her cheekbones out here. So I'm fine with that head, with that face. The head is where it's supposed to be. I'm not worried about the head at this point. And this is, and I've told you before, I mean, the people saying the stone spoke to me, and I think that's a load. That's a bunch of BS. I don't buy it. I don't hear it. Been there, done that, carved I don't know how many tons of granite. And I mean many, 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 many tons and tons of granite. And you know, stones that were, you know, that weighed, you know, 10, 15, 20 tons, just the initial stone. This one started out at over 4 tons, okay? And the stone doesn't speak to me. It never spoke to me. This is when it seems like the stone will speak to you. Because we've been doing all of this mundane stuff. You know, and it's cool to put together her drapery and her knee and her thigh and get all that form right and make it look better. Narrow it up so you got a more pendant drop as you stand it up and you fix the drapery and all this stuff. Yeah, I get it. It's really cool to be doing something more interesting like her hand. But then, you know, what's cooler? A hand or a face? You want to carve a face, you want to be a sculptor. You want to put something out there that makes people go, oh, wow, man, she looks alive. He looks so real, you know, and you want to do that. Right now, that's what this is. This is a siren song, okay? And what you're going to do, especially now that I've gone through and I've done this other work and I'm comfortable with the general layout of her and how she looks, and I got plenty of material so she thins down, she'll skinny up, she'll look great. The head's in the right place. It's in the right attitude, the right elevation. There's enough mass there to cut off too much stone. All this stuff's going great. And this is when that little inner advocate you got, you know, the angel on one shoulder, the devil on the other one. Okay, this is when the devil goes, you got this, babe. Go on, cut it. Cut it, make it perfect. Go ahead and get this. Make it right. Make it great. Make it gorgeous. Do it. Just do it. And you get seduced by this siren song with a stone. And you think the stone is speaking to you when it's really your ego saying, I'm in total control. I've done everything right. I'm ready to do it. We're going to jump in. I'm going to make this look great. And it's going to be awesome. Don't listen. don't bite the hook. When you start getting supremely confident, you're fixing to get tutored, okay? I still worry that this head is not right where it needs to be. I'm like 99+% sure I'm all good. Everything's great. I can just go ahead and point that model and everything's great. But I've learned. And what I've learned more than anything is that a pretty face looks even prettier on a pretty body. Okay? So this is the point where you have to show real control and real restraint and let the face be. Skip it. Wait. Cover this. Now I'm going to work on her hand and her chest, her fabric, her shoulder, all this other stuff. Her neck, all the way up, you know, everything. Not going to touch her head until all of this is right. Because then, if I'm not right, and I think I am, I think I'm good, but if I'm not right, I can still fix this. If I put a perfect face on this, a perfect head, and it's over here, you can't move it. You'll also put that face on there, and this is the tough part. You'll put it on there, and it won't be just perfect. You see if I can fix that. Scrape, scrape, scrape. Oh, wait, there's a spot over here. I could make her lips look just, boop, boop. Now I popped a big chunk out of her lip. Now I got to move her mouth a little bit. Wow, now that makes her eye look crooked. Wow, oh, there her eyelid crumbled. Okay, and you get into this slippery slope of thinking you can fix everything and improve everything endlessly. You surrender volume, which I tell you not to do. You surrender volume, you start losing your placement because it'll start to shift left, right, up, down. It won't really go down as often, but it'll go in and it'll sink. And all of a sudden her head starts to go back. And that messes up her neckline, her jawline. That puts strain on the form, on that composition that you want to be very relaxed, okay? Right now we're still basically an inch forward, 3/4 of an inch to an inch forward with that head. If I put this all together and our head's got to come forward a little bit, I can do it. If I put this all together and the head's got to move over to the right or to the left, 1/2 inch, I can still do it. I still got total control, okay? So this is when that stone is going to speak to you, and it's going to say, you got this, babe, just do it. And all the while, it's that little devil going, come on, do it, do it. And he's going to be having a beer and laughing at you when you bugger it up. You'll get done and you'll do it, and you'll just go, stupid. And you're stuck with it because the stone tells the truth, okay? So learn when you can do it, learn when you shouldn't do it, and really stick to it. That's the discipline. That's the lesson. That's the big part of when I go back to the beginning, like the first video, I said, I want to carve a big angel and with wings up and all this. There's a lot to it. This is why there's a lot to it, because you'll go through all of this preliminary work with the stone, with the clay, with the plaster, with the pointing, with the measuring, with everything. Getting everything done. And then you'll get to this point where you think you finally earned your chance to do the fun stuff. You got to be able to hold on and resist just a little bit longer, okay? Because it's supremely more fulfilling and satisfying to really do it well than to almost do it well, or to do an okay job. I don't want this to go and be okay. I want it to be the best that I can do. And so now it's time to put this together. To finish this. I've finished putting this together and carve this basically almost to this point. Get this really nice. I can honeycomb it some, but I don't have to as much because we've already put together certain areas with, you know, some level of honeycomb, and I can just put this together and carve it and make it look great. And then we'll do the face and the head. And the hair will be right where it needs to be, and the head will be where it needs to be, and the face will be where it needs to be, and hopefully it'll be pretty. But I've got my best chance at, I don't even say success, I got my best chance at not screwing it up a whole lot by waiting until the end with that face. Because even if I do a great job with that face right now, put it on there and I leave it the whole time, I could still bump it with the suction and chip her nose. You know, things happen like that. You can drop a tool or hit something, and something goes wrong, and you can have a problem. You know, you do it with marble, and, you know, I got open studio, a bird come in, sit on her head, and poop, right down her face. Got a big old purple stain right down her face. I don't want that till the end, man. I'll keep that covered up, okay? Because that stuff can happen. Happens as soon as you put it out in the cemetery. So slow down. Don't bite the hook. That little devil on your shoulder isn't the stone talking to you. It's your own ego, okay? And stay in control. You'll do a better job, all right? Okay, I think we can wrap this up. Video's long enough, and I'm gonna just dive into carving. My name's Clint Butt, and I'm a granite sculptor here at Carolina Sculptor Studio with the Virtual Stone Carving Apprenticeship. Thanks for coming in.